So if I talk about the course now, so this is the course content. First week, we are going to do the introduction, where we introduce you to what is UI and UX, and we are briefly talking about the UX job roles and the industry, and then essential UI and UX technical skills and how you can improve those skills to get a job or get a project from a freelancing platform. And number four, how to think like a UX designer. And finally, I will tell you how to create your UX portfolio. And there are some platforms like Dribble and Behance where you can uh, i- like upload your images or project mockups. And whenever you get an opportunity, when you apply for a job, you can send this portfolio to your recruiters or hiring managers. So in the second week, I'm going to introduce you to UX process. UX process is something like if you're familiar with software development process or any other project development methodology, uh, even the UX designers follow a process. It start off with empathizing with the user and then requ requirement gathering where we do gather requirements about different users and different clients. And also there's a step called competitor analysis. And then finally, we sketch where we ideate our design. So in the sketching, we create wireframes by using all the data we gathered already from different users and even from the clients and even from the competitor analysis. And finally, we move on to the prototyping step. So in the wireframe, we have to go back and forth and change and fine tune our wireframes. And then we move on to prototyping step where we prototype our designs. In the prototyping, we are using tool called Figma. So I will introduce you to Figma as well in later weeks, in coming weeks actually. So UX process is something like that. So we are going to discuss about the UX process in second and third weeks. And also then we are going to do some practicals in Figma where we introduce you to Figma layout. If you're already familiar with some other tools such as Photoshop or Illustrator or even any other UX tools such as Adobe XD or even SketchUp, uh, UI designing with Figma. Figma is the tool that we are using in the course because it is the tool that widely used in the industry as well. So we are going to do some practicals using Figma. And finally, in the fourth week, I will give you an assignment. It is actually like a capstone project where you have to use all the things that you learned in the class to create a design experience. For an example, if I ask you to create a travel experience application, so I will give you the requirement as a client, and you have to come up with your own design, and you have to follow the UX process that we discuss in the class, and you have to present it in the fifth week how you approach this project, what are the steps that you taken, and what motivates you to create certain kind of a design. So that is you have to present it in the fifth week. So in the fourth week, I will give you this assignment. And finally, in the fifth week, we are going to discuss about assignments. And in the end, I will present you, I will tell you how to become a successful UI and UX designer and engineer. I will give you 20 tips regarding that. So we are using Google Classroom to upload all our lecture notes and even the lectures. So you will be able to see all our lectures in here and all the classwork and the slides and extra resources and materials. Everything I will upload after the session. All right. So let's start off with today's session. So as I mentioned, we are going to cover these topics today. So first, we are going to talk about what is UI and UX. So UX, if we talk about UX only, UX, it stands for user experience. So it is actually how people interact with the product. So for an example, if we take this physical product right here, the bag of chips, so how easily this person can open the bag of chips and do the task that it is supposed to do. And if we take a digital example, for an example, let's say a banking application, the user experience is something like this. So if you want to send money to someone, user experience will be how easily that you can send money to someone. So that is the user flow. That is the area that user experience designer should focus on to streamline user experience. For an example, if it is really hard for them to send money, they have to fill so many forms and they have to fill so many information. It is not a good user experience. It is kind of like visiting the bank and staying in the queue and do the payment manually. So you have to make sure that you ease up the user's process, save them their time, and also give them a less amount of choice. So we are going to talk about in detail in coming slides. It can be actually UX, user experience design. In Sri Lanka, we are mostly talking about digital user experience. For an example, creating a mobile application or a website or any interactive design, digital design. But it is can apply in physical designs as well. If you take a automobile or a steering wheel or whatever, the dashboard or a physical device such as a phone or computer or anything, it can be a product. So user experience designers and product designer is the term mostly used in Europe and US and also in Germany, where they develop so many motor cars. So you can apply, you can decide what are the things that you can do. Are we going to focus only on digital products, or is there anything that we can do on physical products as well? So make sure to study about physical products as well, because it is also really important. Okay, now what is UX? The process of enhancing the user satisfaction with the product by improving the usability, accessibility, and the pleasure. So the usability is something like, as I mentioned in the mobile application for the banking, usability is how easily you can do some simple task. So simple task can be send money to someone else. How you easily you can use this application to complete your task easily. And accessibility is something really important. So most of the users, let's say, again, if I take the banking application, you even you study your end users and you do user interviews and everything. Every user are not the same. Some users might have visual impairments where they can't see your screens properly. They won't be able to see some colors that you selected to your designs, or maybe some of the users have hearing issues where they can't play a video or something like that. So you can use captions or some supportive material to support them in the application. And also there can be some people with motor impairment where they can't interact directly with the screen. So you can use voice input to help those kind of people. So we are going to talk about accessibility in detail as well, and pleasure. And finally, we have to give some satisfaction for our users. Otherwise, they won't come back to our application and they won't visit our application in daily basis. So for an example, let's say in social media applications, they are thinking about this even from the beginning. So whenever you like a photo, whenever some other person like your post or photo, they're sending you a notification. So it is the mechanism that they use to give you pleasure, and you visit these websites, visit these application in daily basis because you are so addicted to this kind of a notifications or whatever happening in that particular application. So we have to provide, we have to improve the usability, accessibility, and we have to give pleasure to our users when interacting with this application. Okay, now talk about usability in detail. So usability is consist of few of these criterias. Number one is learnability. Learnability is how easily a new user can learn the process. So for an example, let's say take ride sharing application. How easily you can book a ride. For an example, let's say person download the application for the first time. Is it uh, easier to use? So if we using any other application previously, Can he follow the same cues? Can he follow the same learning experience that he already have? So that is the learnability, how easily they can learn the flow and complete their action. And efficiency is something how fast they can perform some actions. Is it straightforward? Are there any roadblocks in the application? So that is the things that user experience designer have to think about when they consider about the usability of the application. And memorability is also something really important because most of the time when we are using an application for the first time, we don't think about it when we are using it again. Like you send money to someone for the first time after you downloading the application, and then the second time onwards, it is in our memory. So how easily you can memorize certain user flow in your application. That is another area that we are talking about. Errors. So if there's any errors, how we can prompt our users with these errors. For an example, again, we can take the ride sharing application. So if the location service is not switched on, it will give user a message. Your location service is not on. So we can't continue uh, loading the application because for the ride sharing applications, it is a location based application. The geolocation is really important. So it is developed based on that. So they require that geolocation. So you can send an error message telling that you have to switch on your location service. If your internet connection is not stable, you can send a message to your user, your internet connection, you have connectivity issues. So you have to make sure you uh, tell your users what is happening in the screen. So it is a good user experience practice. And finally, we have to satisfy our users. So that is the criteria that with main criteria that bring back users to our platform. If we can't satisfy them by using our application or any other web application or a mobile application, they won't come back. They won't tell any other users. uh, they won't tell any other users that they should come to visit the website. Uh, and you have to think about user satisfaction as well. Give me a second. Okay, that is usability. All right, these are some of the mostly used applications in Sri Lanka. So in here we have some electricity board application and Google application and some local applications for telecommunication services and online shopping and banking applications and social media platforms. So what I need you to do is tell me about one application you use in daily life. Tell something good about it and something you don't like, something you can think of. They can improve on this aspect, it will be better. So we can start off in the same order. Chamara, can you think of one application that you like? Okay, we can start with Ruksha. Can you tell me one application you like? Tell me one thing you like about it and one thing you think they can improve. Hello, Janit.
Actually, I like the Sampath Bank application.
Yeah.
According to that, we can use our fingerprint to log in. It's very easy to use. And for the improvement, I like if they have a privacy mode, like when we log in, it shows our bank available bank the money thing. If we can improve it, like there is a privacy mode, it's not showing our bank how much in the bank. That's the thing.
Okay. Okay, thank you. How about Chamara? Tell me one application you like. Tell me one feature you like about it and one thing that you think they can improve.
Sorry, I got disconnected for a while with the power failure.
Okay. So we were discussing,
So,
yeah, you were there when
yeah,
we
I am.
discussing about usability, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. No worries. So the
Now, what
question
do
is,
you
tell
want?
me an application that you like and tell me one thing that you like about it and one thing you think they can improve on.
So you're asking from one of the applications so, shown in the like slide, right?
No, any application. Don't have to be in the slides.
Mm.
It can be a banking application, social media application, or anything. Video streaming, whatever. Okay, until Chamar think about it, we can go to Fatima. Can you tell me one application you like? Okay, how about Jerome?
Yes.
Yeah, tell
Uh,
me about one application you like and one feature you like about it and one thing that you can think is not that good.
about CB application. Uh, Other thing is good, but we cannot add multiple accounts to that application.
Okay, okay, thank you. How about Kavindya?
I like to WhatsApp because it is very familiar for us.
Okay, one thing you don't like about it?
So I have no idea.
Okay, okay, thank you. How about Sasanka?
Hi. I like the Spotify app. That's, I mean, you can connect with a lot of international music and everything. That's what I like about it. And also, the downside is I wish it's connected to Zazam app, because that way you can just search, you can get a direct, how do you say, a direct path to that music that you picked from Suzanne. So like that.
Okay,
Also,
thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. All right. Fatima, do you want to tell an application you like or can we continue? How about Chamar?
Yeah. Okay, if you get the YouTube app, uh, that's one of the apps we are using to browse music and music videos. So I like the app very much because of the all the features they are giving. One thing I don't like is actually now nowadays they are trying to promote the uh, I think the premium version. They are asking always to pay money to get the premium version and including more advertisements time to time. So that's getting bored sometimes because we can't continuously listen to the music. So that's one thing I don't like about that.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for your input. So now we are talking about these usability criteria in detail. Number one is learnability. So what is learnability? Learnability is how easy it for user to complete basic tasks in the first time. The users can quickly go from not knowing the system to getting some work done with it. So for an example, I took the banking application. So first time when you download the banking application, you have to sign up and you have to put a PIN number, or maybe you have to put your biometrics, the fingerprint for extra security, and everything is done. And now you want to send money to someone. So learnability is how easily you can complete this task, how easily you can search the third-party bank in the application menu, and how easily you can add certain details about your receiver, name, email address, or the account number. So for an example, if we take one of these applications, especially this NTB application, if you add the account number for any bank, it will prompt the details about the user, and also it will tell you that this banking account belong to this particular user, and you can confirm. So that is really easy for users, and especially for the business people to quickly add and send money to someone. Even the HNB application is really user friendly, so you can just add whatever the account you want. If it is a one-time pay, you can select the one-time pay action. If it is regular, if you frequently sending money to someone, you can add them as a payee and do your transaction. So I have used this BOC application as well. It is UX wise, it is really outdated, and if you are familiar with that application, you know it is taking some time to load the application, and the user interfaces are not that friendly, and it is something that bad user experience. And if you take dialogue application right here, it is also having a bad user experience according to most of the users. It is loading really slowly, and also it is buggy. So sometimes it's responding really slowly for the user interactions as well. So some of these applications are good examples for good user experience, especially these social media platforms, and also the Google main applications such as Gmail, Chrome, and everything. Some of them, so especially these applications are not tailored for specific user. So that is why we have some disadvantages when we are using, because every user can be unique. So we have some kind of a requirement. We have some expectations when we are visiting these kind of applications. So they can't satisfy every user. So they have selected different user flows that they think that users will follow. If we are not following those user flows, if the user flows are not that straightforward, especially this BOC application or the dialogue application where we have a bad user experience, they have to improve this by referring to user recordings, or they can get feedback from the users by sending them a questionnaire, or they can interview users. So that is how we do UX. So learnability is number one, which is really important. So it has to be straightforward. The user flow has to be straightforward, because users want to complete the basic task really easily. Okay, now in here we have what we call onboarding process. So in this application, the e-wallet application, when user download the application, before the signing up, we send them through this onboarding process where we display all the things that they can do within the application. They can add all accounts and manage, and they can track your spending activities, and they can make online payments and enjoy. So we give them information about what they can do within the application at glance by following these steps. So they can either skip this process if they already know about what they can do within the application. Otherwise, they can go and follow up what they can do. And then they have a good idea about what they can do and what they can't do within the application, even before they signing up by entering their email or phone number. So in here also, we use these tooltips to tell users what this button is doing. So in here, this Google Sheets. So if you hover over one of these buttons, it will tell you what is this about. Even these buttons and all these have tooltips. We call these tooltips. So it will give you information for the users what they can do by performing certain actions in the screen. Okay, number two, we have efficiency. Efficiency is once users have learned the design, how quickly can they perform tasks? So again, we can take the banking application. As you know, most of the time, let's say take another application for an example, Instagram. So first time you download the Instagram application, you have to learn few things. So this is the icon I should press to post some picture. This if I double tap on a picture, it will do something else. If I send a message, this is how I can send a message to someone. So those are the things that you learn when you download the application for the first time. And now when you are logging to Instagram application, most of these actions are automatic. You don't even think about what you have to do. So it is automatic. So that is the efficiency. So you have learned the task and you can quickly perform any task that you like just by following the cues, following the user flow that you already have in your memory. And next one is memorability. When users return to the designing after period of not using it, how easily can they redo the task? So for an example, you deactivated your Facebook account for a certain period of time. So when you are coming back after 1 or 2 years, the user interface and the interactions are mostly similar. So you already have something in your memory and you can easily continue using this kind of a platform. So that is why they are not doing drastic changes to their UI or anything. They are simply fine-tuning their UI based on their user research. So memorability is also important. Errors. How many errors do users make? How easy can they recover from the errors? So for an example, if our website, let's say take a website with a contact us form. So if users trying to send a contact us message to the website owner, uh, in the fields such as we require information for the user's name, email address, phone number, or a message. So we can add validation to those fields. Let's say if I go to one website, so if we asking users for username, name of the company, email address, and everything. So if you are not filling up, or if we have some not allowed or errors in our input data, we can tell them invalid email address, company name is required, and all this information we have to tell them as front-end messages. So that is really important because you have to tell the users, your users, what is happening in the screen. So if you don't have any error messages or anything, they can sometimes they can submit the form. Other times they won't be able to submit the form. So if you are not telling your users what is happening in the screen, that is not a good user experience. And finally, satisfaction. How pleasant is to use the design? Users are subjectively satisfied by the using the system. So as I mentioned, different users are they have different experiences using any other application. Some users let's say for a ride sharing application, when they first download Picme application, some of the users, that is the first time that they are using ride sharing application. Some users might have used applications such as Uber or any other applications, Grab or anything like that beforehand. So they have some expectations. So they want this application to perform in the same way they already have in their memory. So users are subjectively satisfied by using the system. So if you can satisfy these users, first-time users and returning users to your platform in every interaction they do, so it is actually simple. If you give them what they really require, if you fine-tune their user flow, if you help them to achieve their task without spending so much of time, they will get satisfied. So that is another criteria that you have to think of when you do your UX design. So in here we have error messages or the notifications. So if we try to delete a message on our Gmail or whatever, it will show. You can undo whatever you did. So if we accidentally click on a button to delete something, you still have an option to undo it and restore whatever the record that you already have in your email. And even here, if you select all these rows in Google Sheets and try to delete, you still have an undo option if you delete them accidentally. So it is also really important. So here we have a confirmation message. If you want to delete all your files, permanently delete, it will ask you, it will prompt you for your confirmation. So you can, if you do it without knowing, you can simply cancel it and restore your files to whatever the location you already had them. And even here, we are telling our users. Now, in the background, we are uploading an image. So if you are not sending, if you are not showing what is happening in the system, in the background or in the server, the users might refresh the screen. So the upload won't be successful. So you always have to tell your users what is happening. All right. Now we talk about the usability. The next one is the accessibility. So any questions so far? Okay, what is accessibility? So in here, the icons, the first one is visual accessibility. Second one is people with motor impairment, how we can make those people. So those people can't use touch screens or maybe the mouse. And third one, have hearing impairment. So we have to consider hearing as well. And this one is we are giving preferences or properties for users to select from. Maybe it can be slow down the video recordings, video playing speed, and maybe adding some hard subtitles, closed captions, and also responsive design. So responsive design also really helpful in accessibility, because most of the users nowadays, it's more than 70% of users accessing internet via their mobile devices. So you have to make sure your applications or website are working on all of these devices. So you have to make sure your website is responsive, your applications are responsive, and adapt whatever the size of the screen that users are uh, using on their behalf, actually. So what is the accessibility? The principles of visual accessibility design. So number one, principles. Pay close attention to color and color contrast. So most of the users, let's say if your website is for a banking application, and your target users can be anyone from age of, let's say 18 up until 60 or whatever. So some of these users might have color blindness and visual impairment. So you have to make sure to pay close attention to colors and color contrast that you choose in your website. So it will improve the user experience, as well as you have to think about the accessibility in each and every user that you think that might use your platform. And font size and weights. So if you select a good typography, let's say for an example, for a banking application, you have to select a typography which look professional. And also it has to look bold, because you have to give them the message and you don't have to put so many information in the screen. That is why typography and the font size and the font weights you choose are really important. If it is not a text-rich website, you have to make sure you convey the message with a limited amount of text. So font size and font weights are also important. Turn your article into the video, into audio. So for the people with visual impairment, they can't read your screen. They can't read the, let's say for an example, it's a news article, blog website. So you have an article about whatever the subject that you like, and the person with a visual impairment visit your website and they won't be able to see. So they will be beneficial if you add an audio description to your website. So most of the time, the new web operating system or Macintosh or iOS or even Windows have screen readers. So you sometimes don't have to implement screen readers or audio recordings in your website itself. Users can simply do that from their operating system itself. Do not forget about screen readers. So screen readers are also important. So in order to screen readers to read your content, you have to add meaningful content to your website. So let's say you have a news website. You have to first come up with the heading and then the article text. And if you are adding some images or a video or some rich media element to your website, you have to put an alternative text. So the screen reader can also pick it up and read it for the person with visual impairment. So make sure you don't forget about the screen readers as well. That is what mentioned in the fifth title. Be specific with your alternative text. So alternative text can be, let's say for an example, we have this icon here. So if I inspect elements here, okay, now we have image here. Image is the element that we have selected. The alt text is Google Classroom. So the screen readers will pick this up and they will read this as Google Classroom. So if we don't have any alt tag here, screen readers won't pick this up and they will skip that and read the remaining part of the screen. So always make sure to add a alternative text for your images or HTML5 canvas or even the video. If they have slow connection or if they are using screen readers, it will help users with their devices and the user experience will be improved. Okay, as I mentioned here, if the form field design relies on red and green to indicate fields with the and without color, colorblind users cannot differentiate the fields highlighted in red. So even if you have this kind of a validation method in your form, so all these green highlighted ones are acceptable. And this one has an error, so we are highlighting it in red. But this is how the colorblind people can see the screen. They can differentiate between these two colors. So in that case, what we can do is we can add this kind of a cross and a tick for the correct ones. So in that way, the colorblind people can follow these icons and can understand about what is wrong with the form and they can correct it and submit the form. The use of icons and labels to show which fields are invalid better communicates the information to a colorblind user, as uh, mentioned here. So in here, these news websites, they have a audio screenshot for NPR website, allowing users to play the article. So most of the news websites have this kind of a play article. So they are thinking about people with visual impairment when they add in this kind of a feature to their website. So people with visual impairment, these lines of text do not meet the color contrast ratio recommendations and are difficult to read against their background colors. So as you can see, even for the people with good visual, people can see clearly. It is hard to read this text because it is not contrasting. The background and the foreground colors are not contrasting, but when comparing to this one, it is readable. These lines of text follow the color contrast ratio recommendations and are legible against their background colors. So even if you are using light mode or dark mode in your website or a mobile application that you're designing, make sure to think about color contrast ratio because the readability is also really important in your website. So you have to use your elements, foreground and background element with some contrast ratio. So it will improve the user experience of your designs. All right. In here, low contrast text is hard to read on desktop, but it becomes even more difficult on mobile. Imagine trying to read low contrast text on a mobile device while walking in bright sunlight. Yet again, this is a good reminder that accessible visual design is better visual design for all users. Let's say, for an example, you are developing a mobile application. So most of the time, these mobile applications are using outdoors. For an example, I can tell you one example that we did an application for a Salesforce automation. So salespeople are using this application. So we had to think about all the things that we have to consider. For an example, they are using it outside the office. So we have to think about the sunlight. And also we have to think about the battery power. So we can't put high contrast screen in sunlight, and we have to think about the uh, battery power as well, because they won't be able to charge their phone every now and then when they are outside. So what we came up with is a dark mode design with contrasting colors, and also we are giving only very less amount of details in the screen. So all the salespeople know what these icons are, what are the actions that they can perform. So in that kind of a scenario, that kind of application, you have to think, you have to consider all these things as well. So how they can use this application in outdoors, what are the probable scenarios, what are the obstacles that we will face. So when you interview few users, when we interview end users, you will get to know what are the things that, what are the problems that we have to solve in order for this application to become a successful one. So every application is different. So if you are not interviewing your users, if you're not trying to understand their problems, not trying to empathize with them, your application will not be successful. So always try to make sure to find solutions for the users' problems they are facing currently. So that is the task of a UX designer or a UI designer or a UX team. So in here, this online shopping website, we have information here, an image without useful description. So even people with visual impairment or colorblind people won't be able to see this graphic. So if we add some description about what is this t-shirt about, it will be beneficial for the people with visual impairment as well. So right now, this UX design is not providing that information. But this one has all the details, the product details, the product code, washing details, and everything is there. So even the screen readers can pick this up and read the description about the t-shirt, and the people with visual impairment can visualize it themselves without an issue. So for the bots or the Google, when they are crawling your image, even the websites, if you have good alternative text for your images or rich text, it will be beneficial for screen readers, especially for the people with visual impairment, and even for the search engines when they crawl your website and rank your website based on your content in the website. And if you have broken images, let's say the image in the server is not there in, so there is a broken image. So if you have alternative text, apart from showing the broken image icon, it will show this alternative text. So it will beneficial for screen readers and even for the developers. They can understand. So this image needs to be replaced because it is not there anymore. And people with motor impairment, you can use virtual assistants such as Siri or even Google Assistant or Amazon Alexa or anything. And most of the devices that we are using daily basis support these voice memos or anything like that. So you can easily send a message to someone without even try to type it. And this is for the people with hearing impairments. So we can add subtitles or closed captions to our video, so they can easily follow up what is the person is saying, because they can't hear what is it about. And also these volume rockers. For an example, if you have an application loading in your mobile screen, if you don't have this like volume reducer or volume control panel uh, properly, it is not a good user experience, because sometimes the users might open your application in a library, or they want to reduce the volume, or they want to increase the volume in certain areas. So you always have to make sure to display these most interesting, most uh, used properties for your users in the screen itself without giving them hard time to finding them. Okay, these are some things we do when we create a website and deliver it to the market. So before we launch a website, we have to do the accessibility check. So number one is provide alternative text for non-text content. So as I mentioned in here, we have to provide alternative text tags for our images or even video or anything that you think that will take some time to load in your screen, because we have to think about accessibility first. So people with visual impairment and screen readers can pick up and read these texts. And also some people might have very slow internet connections. So they won't be able to load the website or the screen fully because of this speed they have. So make sure to provide alternative text in that context as well. Number three, add captions or subtitles to video and audio content. If your website is uh, giving so many video and audio content and it is a travel log or whatever, you have to make sure to add video and audio content, subtitles. Make content distinguishable with the help of color and contrast. So if, let's say, we have this kind of a layout. So the images and the call to action button is highlighted with different colors. So users' attention will get to this particular button. They can click on it easily. And some of the typography, the uh, heading color is gray color and the text color is black color. So you have to make sure you add certain colors and matching colors based on your requirement, maybe your branding colors, and make sure test those colors with accessibility plugins. There are some accessibility plugins that you can install on Figma itself as well. So you can see by referring to those screens that you already developed, how people with different visual impairments can see your screen. So then you can improve your design based on those outputs. Ensure audio video volume control as well as mechanisms to stop or pause audio video. So when your website have a audio or a video, let's say when person entering your website, you have a feature in your website to play a background audio or background video. So it is not a good user experience because most of the users won't like this idea, because they might, you have to consider about the place they are visiting your website. So they might have increased volume. And if they're using your website in a library, it will not a good user experience. And they might have very slow internet connection. So if you have this kind of a content playing in the background, it will not play. So, and also they might have metered internet connections. For an example, they have less amount of data. So if you're automatically playing this kind of a video, their data will be gone. So that is also not a good user experience for your users. So always make sure as a good practice not to play anything on the background without users knowing. And if you have that kind of a mechanism, if you have that kind of a scenario, always make sure to give them an option, straightforward option to stop, pause, or reduce the volume in the video of your website. Make all functionality available from a keyboard. So in case where user's trackpad or a mouse is not working, you have to make sure all the functionalities are available from a keyboard. For an example, in YouTube, if you press the space key, it will stop the video. So it is something they implemented in their code. And also, if you go to some other website and try to fill a form, if you press the tab key or the arrow down, it will take you to the next form field that you need to fill. So that is also a really good experience. So if users don't have mouse or a trackpad is not working, they can quickly navigate through your website by using their keyboard as well. Give users enough time to read and use the content. No time limits. So let's say you have an application to book movie tickets. So in that case, when booking a movie ticket, you select the seat and then you have to do the payment. So if we are limiting that time because most of the users are trying to book movie seats. Some users won't pay and just leave it. Uh, so in that case, we have to give them some time. So that is a specific case. So sometimes most of these websites, so when we are trying to make an online appointment with the doctor and they show this is the time duration that you have to do the payment. Otherwise, we will not give you this slot. So you have to make sure you have make the payment within this time in this specific scenario. But otherwise, if we don't need any time frame, if there's no any competition, if there's no uh, anything, if you need to send a contact us message, if you need to buy something, uh, don't put any time limits or let's say user sessions in your website or a mobile application. So it is not something that users will like. So let's say you fill all the whole form, and when you try to submit, it says that your time is out, and users have to again fill the form and try to submit. So that is not a good user experience, but in specific cases, you have to use time limit as well. Next one, makes text content readable and understandable. So that is the duty of a content designer or a content creator. So make text readable and understandable. So so we have to focus on visual design as well as content as well. So good UX will have good visual design, good user experience, and also good content as well. So content can be the text content or even the image content. There are certain guidelines where that you have to follow when referring to text content. So if it is an article, if it is a news article, let's say, you have to, there's a recommended text to image ratio. So you have to follow that. So if you are putting so much text on your website and you only have one image, it won't be that good for your users. So you are always have to follow these recommended ratios for different projects that you do. Provide ways to help users navigate, find content, and determine where they are. So in that case, you have to always provide users this kind of a navigation, or this kind of a highlighted navigation will tell them where they are in the screen. So if they are in this screen, it will highlight the stream. And if they are in this screen, it will highlight that particular part. And we are currently in this batch, so we are highlighting that part. So that is also really important to tell users where they are, and also it will help users to navigate within your website easily. And make pages operate in a predictable way. So for an example, you have this website. So if we click on here, and the predictable action can be opening a tab like this. So if you are not opening a tab here and refreshing the website or doing something else, it is not a predictable behavior of this particular websites, because most of the users have prior experience using different kind of websites. So they know that search bar should be here and the search option should load search results. So if you are not doing that kind of a thing in your website, it will disappoint your users. So that is also not a good user experience. Help users avoid and correct mistakes. Okay, if users are making mistakes, let's say if they, as I mentioned, if they're filling a form and they are making a mistake in the email address field, they are not putting the @ or domain name or whatever. So you can prompt an error message saying your email address is not correct. So they can correct their error and move forward with the submission form. Ensure compatibility with assistive technologies. So assistive technologies can be the screen readers or any emerging technologies that most of the operating systems or the browsers, Chrome browser supports. For an example, translate. Let's say if we try to translate this page, it should support as well. So you have to make sure you check everything uh, in the translation as well. Sometimes some languages have longer text. So make sure to test your website with at least 3 to 4 languages that you think that users will use your platform or a website. So earlier we had to add translation to our website itself. So I think you already noticed it. Uh, some of the websites have a flag here, and the English version will be load by default, and you can change the languages to uh, Spanish or Italian or whatever. But now with the Chrome browser, you can easily translate to the whatever the language you want by using browser tools itself. So you don't as a developer, you don't have to worry about the localization part of the designing for the development. All right. All right. These are closed captions. So in subtitles, closed captions, and open captions, these are the features those are have. Language usually matches the audio. In subtitles, language usually doesn't match the audio, but in closed captions and open captions, it is. Turning them on and off at your will. So you can turn on and turn off subtitles in Netflix or even YouTube, but you can't turn on and turn off open captions because those are hard sub to the video itself. So you won't be able to turn on and turn off from your screen. Includes background sound description. Subtitles doesn't have that, and closed captions and open captions have that option. So these are the features for subtitles, closed captions, and open captions. So if you are implementing a video rich website, you have to make sure to have subtitles or closed captions or open captions in your website for the people with visual impairment, hearing impairment to follow up what is happening. So this is the thing that I mentioned earlier. Most of these website had localization option. So when we write the content for the website, we have this kind of option on right-hand side top where users can toggle between different languages. In here, we have four languages, Japanese, Spanish, Italian, and German, and in here also. So most of the time in newly created websites, we are not using these kind of a functions now because a browser itself, the Google Chrome itself support translation directly. So we don't have to worry about it that much. But in special scenarios where client directly requiring like requesting you to add this kind of a feature, you have to add that to the website. So this is about responsiveness. So your website and your design have to be working well in each and every screen size, even if it is a mobile or a tablet size or even desktop or even a larger screen. It have to uh, ad adapt based on the screen size and work properly. So there are some frameworks that you can use. So this is actually for a front-end development. So there are two frameworks. One is Tailwind, another one is Bootstrap. So Tailwind is the widely used framework these days, CSS framework, where you can use it for anything. Like they have a library of colors and different buttons and components and everything. and they support responsiveness as well. So you, if you into front-end development, if you like coding, you can look into one of these, especially Tailwind, and make sure you do your designs correctly by using these media queries they have with different breakpoints for different screen sizes. All right. Okay, now if you don't have that kind of a user experience, if you don't improve your accessibility, if you don't have good responsive design, it will disappoint users. So they won't come back to your website or a mobile application, and it is not a successful product. Give me 1 minute. All right, so we covered up until here. We talked about learnability, usability, accessibility, and how to satisfy users with different user interfaces and interactions. And then moving on. Okay, now let's discuss again. Tell me one application that you deleted from your mobile app recently, and what is the purpose? Why did you delete it? So we can start off in a similar order. Chamara, tell me one application you deleted from your application, from your mobile, I'm sorry, recently, and what is the reason behind that? We can start off with Chamara. Are you here? Janit?
Yeah, the commercial bank application I deleted because it's so slow loading, and every time I need to put my email address and the password. That's the reason of I delete that application.
Okay, thank you. How about Chamara, are you there?
Hi, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Regarding the digital apps, actually, I had that BOC app, which is I'm not using as my primary bank account. So I also had the issues with the logging into the app and the user friendliness of the BOC app. So I have recently removed that from my phone. Currently, I'm using only the passbook app for the BOC.
All right. Thank you. How about Fatima?
Yes, I deleted the Comeback Digital app because when I tried to log in, it says detected a suspicious behavior, something like that. We couldn't go, so I deleted it.
All right. Thank you. Ratna Sekara? Jerem, how about you?
I recently removed the CB application because it's very difficult to understand and difficult to use it.
Okay, CB as in commercial bank application.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
How about Kavindya?
I recently delete Uber because I use it less.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Sasanka?
I recently deleted the SLT app because it lags a lot. So that's
All right. Thank you, everyone. So as we discussed now, most of you have deleted the application called Commercial Bank. So if it is giving not giving you satisfaction, even if it is not doing what it is supposed to do, most of the users tend to delete it. So you have always have to make sure to give users what are they expecting from your application at least, and in the end we have to satisfy them by like efficiently working and also giving them fast interactions, and we can use some micro interactions to make them delighted in the end. And also uh, we can add few features to make sure they come back to our applications, but at least the main functionality should be there. So if you can't log into your application, it is really a bad user experience. All right. Now we are going to talk about the difference between the UI and UX. So in normal terms, we refer UI and UX as look and feel. So look is the UI, whereas the feel is the UX. So UX and UI. So in here, under the UX, we have UX strategy, user research, information architecture, and testing. So we are going to talk about each of these topic in detail, but I will give you a rough introduction. So UX strategy is something that you have to come up with when you are getting a new project. So it is something like it is kind of like this. This is the way that we are going to solve this particular issue. This is the way that we are going to deliver this project. So strategies should be there. So this kind of a time frame we are spending on user interviews and requirement gathering. And this is the time frame we are spending, and these are the human resources we are allocating in different tasks. It is kind of like a project plan, but it is mainly focusing on user experience and user experience related tasks. And then we have user research. So user research is also really important because at the end of the day, we are developing or designing all of our applications for the users. If users are not satisfied, most of these applications are not successful. So let's say your client not thinking about their users, and they want to do changes based on their perspective. So you have to tell your client that users are the ones that you're using your applications, and we have to think about our users as well, because that is why what the user experience designer's task is. So we call it user-centric design. So you always have to make sure you design you design or develop whatever you do. The end user are someone from the field. So you have to identify your end users and you have to empathize with them. Maybe you can interview few of these users and try to understand the different use cases, different stories that they are trying to tell you. So let's say one example is a ride sharing application. So you are trying to develop a ride sharing application in Sri Lanka. So you have to interview different people. One person can be office worker. He's trying to book a taxi to get back and forth from the office and home. And then there can be another user, same office user, but he generally travels in his own car. But if the car is not working or it has a breakdown, he uses taxi service. So that is another user story. And there can be another user story, let's say for a mother. So she's trying to send their kids to the classes or school, and they have different requirements. They will think about their kids' safety. and also they are not traveling with them. So you have to make sure you interview all these users and get idea about what their requirements are and try to fulfill them with your designs. And then we have information architecture. So information architecture is something really important. So that is where you decide what are the representation of different elements. So for an example, we place our search bar on top. So these are the elements that we should display on dashboard. These are the things that we should put in our screen. This area we should focus on adding a navigation bar. So all these data representations in the screen comes under information architecture. So the data representation, data hierarchy, what are the areas that we should give most of our attention to. So all these things come under information architecture. And finally, we have to do testing. So testing we can do with actual users, as well as we can send our beta application, our pre-launch application link to different users and put a screen recorder there. So screen recording application, there are several applications. There's an application called Hotjar, and there's an application called Microsoft Clarity, where you can record your screens and look what users are doing in your screen. So for an example, if I show you one project we did recently, so we are using this Clarity in each and every project. So for an example, if you are creating a mobile application, or even if you are using it in a web application, we can record different user interactions by using this platform. So if I go to one of these recordings, let's go here. So it will show what users are doing in the screen. So this user is using a mobile device. So we can understand what they are doing in the screen, and if there's any issue, if there's any roadblock, if they are taking so much of time in the screen, we can again go through our user flows and streamline the process by following these. You have to, I will add these tools in our Google Classroom as well, so you can easily follow up and maybe add one of these tools to your website when you are developing it next time. So the testing can be done with real users. So in that case, we have to invite some of the real users to our office or the laboratory, and we have to examine them. We have to observe them using this application. We can ask different questions. We can tell them to perform one task in the application and see, are they following the same path? Is there anything that we can improve in the design? So you can understand by following user interactions and observing their behavior, even with the video recordings that we showed you. And in UI, we have color theory. So when we are designing something, each of these colors, each of different colors in the color wheel have different meaning. For an example, if you want to make application look more professional, you can use blue color, kind of like, for an example, LinkedIn, or if you want playful applications such as Instagram, you can use different colors, like bright colors. So every color has a meaning behind it. So we are going to talk about that in detail as well. Typography is also really important. So if you are using, if you're designing application for children, you can add some playful font so they won't get bored. But if you are developing application for a professionals, banking applications, you can't use this playful font because you have to add something professional. You have to select your typeface based on the user requirement and the project that you are working on as well. And design patterns is also important. It is actually based on the requirement and the use case that you are following. So if you designing application for the travel industry, you have to put all these images where that users give their attention to. So design patterns should be there. So you have to follow the same pattern throughout your application. The consistency should be there. So users won't have to learn anything new when they are using different part of your website. So if they experience one thing on your dashboard, similar experience should be there throughout the application or a website. Interactivity and animation. So if you have a website or mobile application with the sliders, or if we uh, let our users know if they, when they scrolling through or when they try to click on a button, you have to give a micro interaction. You have to give animation to our users to let them know that their task, their action they are taking is happening in the website as well. So that is how we communicate with the users and ask them to take certain actions, especially when they try to pay or when they try to book a ride, when they try to book a hotel. We have to make sure to give them prompt interactions to them as well. So in the intersection that belong to both UI and UX, we have empathy. So in order to come up with better UI design, you have to empathize with your users. Empathizing can be done by using user interviews. You can ask certain questions and try to understand where the users are coming from, what are their requirements, have they used any other applications previously, so what are the things that they don't like about those applications, what are the good things that we can use in our application, things like that. And collaboration is also important. So as a UI and UX designer in design teams, it is actually collaboration. So you have to collaborate with your co-designers, and you have to collaborate with your users as well to get their information, get their feedback. And also for all the stakeholders, the client, the team member, the product designer, the product owner, and everyone are collaborating in this product designing or development to make it a successful design. And then we have to be good at design thinking as well. So design thinking is something like this. So if you approach a certain, let's say you get a requirement from a user. So give me 1 second. So as a UX designer, you have to think like a designer in daily basis as well. So let's say you are interacting with different physical, let's say you are driving a car. So you can think of it as a product. So is it easy to drive? Are all the controls, are central controls and everything are in a reachable area? So it is user friendly. Can I improve the design? So those are the things that product designer from different car manufacturer have think when they come up with the design. So you can always think in different scenarios when you are visiting your like when you're going to office, when you are going to university. So is there anything physical that you can think of that improve in UX design? UX, user experience can be improved. Or even if it is a virtual product or a digital product, you can think if I get a chance to design this application, how should I approach it? How should I improve the user experience in this particular application? So you have to think like a UX designer, and design thinking is also really important. So that is how you solve the problems that users are facing in their daily basis. And the prototyping. Prototyping is also really important. Prototyping is how we present our ideas, present our designs to our users or stakeholders or clients. So in prototyping, we come up with the tool we are using is Figma. So we will do Figma practicals as well. So if we come up with this kind of a design, so in the prototype, what we do is we create a presentation. So it is a click-through presentation where users can interact with our system. So we give them this kind of a layout. It is not an actual app, which it actually don't have a backend, but just the images, and they can get the actual look and feel of the final design. So they can interact with this design and get idea about what is happening. And that is also really important, the prototyping skills. So prototyping actually can be done. There are 3 types of prototypes. You can use wireframes as prototypes. physical wireframes and ask users to perform certain tasks by giving them a highlighter or whatever if they are visiting the office premises. And there's low fidelity prototyping, where you don't put all the final designs there, but just the wireframes and most essential steps will be there in the screen, and you ask users to perform certain actions. And you can observe them performing these actions and make sure that your user flows and your diagrams are fine-tuned based on these users' interactions. And finally, we have this kind of a high fidelity prototype, because this is the actual design, actual final design that users will see when we develop the application as well. So you can have this kind of a design, and then you can present it to your users to interact with it, and you can gather feedback based on their interactions and uh, their behavior. All right. So now we are going to talk about all of these in detail. Before that, let's take a quick 15-minute break. So we will meet up around 10:40. In the meantime, if you have any questions, send a message on chat. So we will look about it after the break. Okay, before the break, we were talking about UI and UX, and now we have to do UX strategy. As I mentioned before, UX strategy is used to create an understanding between designers and the goals of the business, product, or feature we are developing. More specifically, it is a document of guidelines and rules that outline how the design team aims to achieve the organization product or objectives. UX strategy is the process that should be started first before the design or development of a digital product begins. So in UX strategy, everyone in the team, let's say uh, this is a team project and you have 4 designers, 4 visual designers, 2 UX designers, even a product owner, product manager, a project manager, and everyone have to involve in creation of the UX strategy. So you can tell now, this is the time frame I will take to create the visual design. So visual designer can tell what he can do and what is the time frame he requires. So UX researcher can tell that this kind time frame will be enough for me to carry out user research and interview few users. So everyone have to involve in this process and make a good UX strategy. So and then we can use this like a blueprint. Whenever we need a requirement, whenever there's a meeting, we can follow up based on the strategy that we have already deployed. So creating a UX strategy before even we starting anything in the project is really important, because if we, let's say, you start off with the user interviews and requirement gathering and everything, and then start the UX strategy. But ideally, we should create it first, because it is telling you how much time frame we require, what is our budget, what is the human resource allocation will look like, and where we can gather our feedback. When are we going to iterate and back and forth and get feedback for our wireframes or prototypes or anything? When can we launch? What is the time frame we have? So we can consider everything and come into a like mutual understanding and a mutual blueprint document where we can refer throughout our project from starting off until the deployment. So this is a main basic UX strategy. And the first thing, if we follow UX strategy, this is the starting point. Understanding your users. You need to understand who your users are and what market fit your product has. The first thing you should understand it, we are creating this product for our users. So the number one, you have to understand and empathize with your users. So understanding your users can be done by carrying out interviews and even, let's say, send them a questionnaire and even asking them open-ended questions and taking some qualitative and quantitative inputs from them. For an example, we can ask questions. If we, for this particular scenario, I'm taking application, the ride sharing application. So if we take a ride sharing application, we can ask questions such as how you book a ride normally. Are you using any applications? What are the functionalities you are using? How often you are using this particular application? How is it responding you? Are there any questions that you are currently facing? So that is one user who uses mobile application to book a ride. And there can be another user who uses traditional ways to book a taxi. He might be calling someone and calling some taxi service or anything and try to book a ride. And try to book a ride. And then you have to find out what market fit your product has. So after learning about and empathize with your users, you have to search about your competitors as well. In ride sharing industry, if we take Sri Lanka, we have Pick Me, we have Uber, and we have some indirect competition as well from the cab services such as Kangaroo or any other application. And even the traditional ways like booking taxi service, taxi hotline numbers, and so on. So you have to understand all these, at least you have to compare 3 to 4 different competitors in your same area, same domain. And then you have to make a chart by recognizing the good things, the pros and cons about these applications. Number one can be easy to use. Number two, and so on. So you have to make sure that you do this comparison and understand the competitors as well. The one thing that you can do when doing the competitor analysis is if you don't have much time to interview your users, you can always go to these applications, Google Play Store or Apple App Store reviews. So most of the frustrated users are adding comments there. So it is actually, you have to make sure that you get all the reviews, but most of the time, most of the frustrated users are only ones that adding the reviews. If you have a good user experience, most of the time we are not going to review it. We are just using the application without trying to review it because we don't have time. But that frustration makes some users to add some reviews about that application as well. So some of these applications might be really good, but you can gather some information about the negatives of these applications from following Google reviews or Apple App Store reviews as well. Okay, understanding your users is number one, then understanding your value. You need to understand your value, your product value. So if, let's say, we can tell it this way now, when we are trying to find our market fit, we call it a value proposition. So if your application, who are your target users? Are we going to target the same users other applications are targeting? Or do we have any particular demographic? Are we only going to target office workers? So in that case, what is the value this product has? Are we going to give them a premium service? Are we going to charge them the same amount that other applications are charging? What type of cars we are going to provide? Are we going to provide them with luxury cars, or what are we going to do with other services? For an example, are we going to implement market or food restaurant application where we can order food? So you have to consider all this and you have to understand your product's value. So value is really important. You can create your pricing based on that as well. So let's say your product budget is this much, let's say $100,000. So you have to make sure after some time, we call it return on investment, ROI, how much will it take for us to make that amount by after launching this application. So you have to configure and you have to come up with a better pricing plans, and maybe you can try out different business plans based on users. You can give subscriptions and you can give discounts to get more users, and you can create awareness campaigns to get more users to your platforms and so on. So you have to understand your value within the competition as well. Number 3, know how you solve the problem. You need to understand how your product actually solves those key problems. So when we do user interviews and everything, we get to know that these are the current problems that users are facing. So let's say for an example, in ride sharing application, in rush hours, there are no taxis in Colombo area. So that can be a one problem that the users are facing. Some of these applications are laggy. So some areas in Colombo even don't have that good of a cellular reception. So there can be connectivity issues. So can we address all these issues and make a good application to address all these? So that is understanding problems and try to find good solutions to these problems are is the task that user experience designer has to do mainly. So you have to make sure you understand users' problem and find good solutions to these problems when you do your UX strategy. And then have a clear vision. You need to know where you are going. Having a clear vision helps you to work on what's the most valuable. So let's say you don't have a clear vision, you don't have UX strategy or a blueprint, and you are just started off with the normal UX process and start off with the design, and somehow you manage to develop it and launch it to the market. But you then realize that your product is not a valid product. So users are not using it, it's not addressing the concerns that users have, and even it don't have any good research back. So you haven't done any research and your competition is very good. You don't have a chance to give good competition. So after launching only you realized all this. So that is not the way to go. In the beginning, you should have a clear vision. So this is the plan. This is the stages of our product development. So from this day until this day, we are going to carry out user research, and then we are going to start off with the wireframes and then the prototype, and this is the stages that we are involving with our users to get their feedback. And then finally this is our launch date, and we are somehow going to launch in this particular day. So make sure to have a clear vision as well. Continuous feedback and iteration. So as UX design or UX process or a design itself is not a linear process. So you have to go back and forth and fine tune your design. You may have to gather feedback from your users to your designs and fine tune your design over and over before you do the final product, final launch. So you need to have a constant feedback through data and custom interactions to continuously iterate and improve. So if you don't do this, if you don't look for users' feedback, if you don't interview your users, and let's say you don't have any feedback after you launching the application, after some time, you can clearly see people are declining your applications because you are not finding answers to problems they are facing currently. So make sure to get continuous feedback and iterate back and forth to fine tune your product until some time. So it is actually even though if we think the designer's duty is over when they give all the assets to the developer, it is not. So you have to help your developer to create a different task. You can tell, you can discuss with him how to implement different screens, how to implement what is the user experience should you look like, and then you have to test. And even after you launch, after some time, you have to redo, like you have to see the screen recordings, how people are interacting with it. Are people facing any roadblocks? So you have to streamline the process by gathering continuous feedback and iteration. Okay. Now, any questions so far? All right. Now, user research. User research is used to understand the user's need. behaviors, experience, and motivations through various qualitative and quantitative methods to inform the process of solving for users' problems. So user research is also important. It is the only way that we can understand, we can get an idea about our end users and their behaviors, their needs, their motivations to use particular applications. So we can carry out different qualitative methods. So we can ask them questions and mark it in a Likert scale. So is it very likely or not likely, satisfactory, and so on. So we can have different criteria for different questions and ask qualitative questions. Is it good? Is it bad? Something like that. And we can also use quantitative methods. So let's say for an example, we come up with a design and we ask users to perform certain action. And you can count how many seconds they're taking to perform certain action. And that is a quantitative method. So you are taking and how many users are there in other competitors. How many users have downloaded the applications. So you can get all these quantitative and statistics when you do the research, user research. So research actually helping you to figure out problems users have with the interface. So if it is a already existing application or is it a first time application, you already have the design, you can, by carrying out UX research, you can figure out problems users have with the interface itself. So let's say you have a screen recording installed in your screen and you figure out most of the users find it hard to click on certain call to action button. So you can think about it again and maybe you can make it bigger. You can make it more prominent with using different color shade. So that is how you can uh, eliminate the problems that users are facing with the interface itself. Find out users' problems and needs. So apart from that, you can find out problems users are facing in a current scenario. Let's say they already have our application installed and they are facing some connectivity issues. Maybe our application is not streamlined. They have to go back and forth to do certain tasks. So how can we improve our design to accommodate these users' needs, and how we can eliminate all the problems that users are facing currently? And maybe it is a new application we are trying to develop. So we, in the computer analysis, we can find out the problems and needs users have with other applications they are currently using, which will be helpful for you to create an application with less issues. Create valuable and useful designs. So by understanding your users and empathizing with your users, you can then create a valuable and useful designs. So if you don't know about your end users, you don't have any idea about your competitors even, and if you start off with your design, you are not trying to address any of the issues that users are currently facing. So always make sure to follow the process and create valuable and useful designs based on your research findings. So it is really important. Identify early adopters. So early adopters are the people who trying to use your product before everyone else. So let's say for a physical product, when iPhone, a new iPhone event, new iPhone launch, most of the users in US or any other Southeast Asian country, they tend to stay outside Apple store and stay till the morning and buy the Apple product. So those are kind of like early adopters. People who use the product earlier than others. It can be applied for a digital product as well. So people who download and use the application as soon as it is launched. So those are the early adopters. So understanding and identifying them is also really important because they are the ones who give the message to other users. Let's say you try to advertise and you try to market your product, but word of mouth is really important. So early adopters get a good understanding, they get a good user experience when using your applications. They will tell other people that this application is really good and you have a good reviews from the beginning. So that is also really important for application to be a successful one. Analyze the market to check if your product fits the niche. let's say you are trying to launch the application and you took some time to development and everything, and the market condition when you try to launch is not that good. So the application, ride sharing applications are declining, maybe because the prices are so high, maybe because of the pandemic, because no one is mobilizing. So you have to make sure you are launching your applications in right time, and product fits the right niche as well. So if it is a holiday season, you don't have to use your application. Let's say uh, we are trying to develop application for ride sharing for professionals. So if they are not going to work, if there's some kind of a issue with the transport, like let's say uh, there's a floods or anything, we can't launch this application. So you have to make sure you launch your application in right time as well. Learn about competitors' products. So that is also really important. So if you are again launching a ride-sharing application, you have to study hard about other competitors. In Sri Lanka, we have two competitors, let's say Picme and Uber. You have to study hard. What are the features they offer? What are the things that users like about these applications? How are they performing? Are they performing good on any device? How is the service actually? Are drivers good? Are they professional? What is the things that users say that they need to improve? Then you can go outside and research about some other application as well. In Southeast Asia, you can search for applications such as Grab, or even in America, you can search for Lyft or any kind of applications. What are the problems users are facing? What are the new features they have that users like? So you can stay up in the competition by following all these different ride-sharing applications, and not only in your local country, but in other countries as well. Validate your business ideas and hypotheses. So when you start off with the design, you have to come up with some hypothesis. Let's say, for an example, you can say when we do something called persona creation. So in persona creation, what we do is we interview a few users and we get an idea about that user, what he do, what his motivations are, what is his background, professional background, and some demographics about himself. And then we graph it, and we can use it to refer to that particular user. So we call them user stories, user story generation. I will discuss it in detail in our next sessions. So then uh, you can come up with some hypothesis. For an example, let's say we interviewed a person called Jack. So you can tell now, I can come up with a hypothesis telling Jack will use this application to travel to his office. And another person, let's say a mother, she will use this application to take his kids to school. So those are the hypotheses that we come up with. And then when we do the design, when we interview a few users and when we come up with the design, we can validate your business ideas and this hypothesis we made. So that is the way that we validate. Otherwise, we have to validate our business idea after we launch our application. That will be really costly because we spend so much of money and time and human resources and as well before we find out that application is not worthy. So always make sure to find out with our users. So you can interview and you can ask questions and you can find out if it is a good market fit. So it is a good idea to involve your users from the beginning of the UX research. Measure the return on investment, ROI, for your design. So we call ROI, return on investment. It is the let's say you invest this amount of money on specific feature or developing an application. How long will it take for us to get back that money? Can we get that return in time? So if it is matching our expectations, we can call it a good ROI. So if it is not matching it, we have to consider. So is it a valid product? Should we continue doing this product? So will we be able to make a profit? or we'll be able to make at least cover the costs we spent on this particular product. So if it is not, we have to either pivot or we have to stop the project altogether. So most of the time, when we identify these things, so most of the companies pivot. So for an example, let's say we are trying to launch a ride sharing application, and when the time pass, we figure out now uh, there are so many ride sharing applications, and we won't match the competition. So we can use it for some other use cases as well, this particular technology or the design we already have. So measure the return on investment is also really important, because we have to pay all the developers and the designers and everything. If we are not making profit, or if we are not at least covering the cost, it is not that good. Ensure proper navigation and trouble-free user experience. So if your application, mobile application or a desktop application, don't have a proper navigation to go back and forth and identify where the users are and everything, it is not a good user experience. And when we view our user recordings and everything, if we find out that users have so many roadblocks, they can't follow the process directly. The user flow is not straightforward. So we have to make sure everything is streamlined and users have better user experience when they are using the design. So user experience and user research will help you to do all these mentioned tasks. Okay. Now, on the other hand, information architecture is like a blueprint, a visual representation of products, infrastructure, features, and hierarchy. So information architecture is also really important when you are doing a design or a development. We have a job role called information architecture in design industry as well. His duty is to create a blueprint and visual representation and create a hierarchy of the navigations and the features. What features we should give most of our attention to? What features we should ship in our first launch? What features we should launch, give our attention next, the priority list, and everything should comes under this information architecture. The level of details is up to the designer. So information architecture may also include navigation, application functions and behaviors, content and flows. There is no set of limit to the size of shape of AI. It is actually depend on the requirement and the applications you are designing. So let's say you need some feature to ship really fast. So you have to focus on it rather than focusing on some other areas of the application. Okay, now this is information architecture or a diagram. So we have, by having this kind of a diagram, user flow diagram, we have a good understanding about what is the step, what is the ideal steps that users are following in order to get to the end, get to the successful step in our user flow. So we are starting, if I take this user flow for an example, we are starting off by onboarding. So in the onboarding process, we have registered with a SMS and Google and so on. Then we are sending and creating a profile. So decline location access. This is a location-based gaming application. So if we don't have location access, we are prompting them to give the location access. I think you already have seen them in applications such as Pick.me and Uber. If you switch off your location, the application won't take you further. So then we are loading them the home screen and all these options will be there. So this is the legend. These are the different actions and pop-ups we are showing to the user and some tabs as well. So this is the gaming experience user flow. So users onboarding and signing up, and then they can do different tasks based on the selection they have. So these can be the buttons, options, menu, avatar, and so on. All right. So any questions so far? Okay, you can see that UX is everywhere and the bad UX is also everywhere. So we have so many examples, even in our day-to-day life, we experience so many bad user experience. It can be a digital product, and most of the time we experience physical user experience as well, bad example. So in here we have bicycle lane, but this person can't pass this line to access the other area, other part of the road. So that is a bad user experience, a bad physical user experience. And this mug also, it is looking cute. The looks are good, but it is not doing the job it is supposed to do. So it is also a bad user experience. And we can see so many this kind of uh, trains in Sri Lanka as well. So it is not doing the job it's supposed to do. So it is also a bad user experience. And in TV remotes, I think most of us already experienced this. There are so many unnecessary buttons there. So we only need few buttons to do the task, and we can actually use these few buttons to change our channels or increase the volume and so on. This lift is not structured properly, so it has wrong numbering. So that is also a very bad user experience, because users are really used to the numbering in a proper way. If user try to use this lift, they have to follow this key, and it is not a good user experience. And also this one, people won't be able to reach to it to do the transactions or receive money. And even for the person with motor impairment, he won't be able to go through this script to go to the other part of the uh, road. Okay, now we are going to talk about some UX job roles. So as a starter, you can start off with a UX designer and UI designer. So UX designer is actually focusing on user research and focusing more into the user's perspective, whereas UI designer is more into design, visual design and the color theory and so on. And UI and UX designer is someone who can do both UX and UI. UX manager, you can become UX manager with some experience as a UI and UX designer for some period of time. UX researcher, if you are really good with people, interviewing and communicating with people, and if you have good interpersonal skills, you can be a UX researcher, because you have to interview people, you have to get uh, and go and meet different people and ask questions. If you are good at communicating, you can become a UX researcher. And UX writer, if you're good at content writing, and if you can write really well, you can become a UX writer. UX architect is, as I mentioned, is someone with so much of experience in UI and UX, and also he have a good understanding about information architecture and data representation and everything. So he will tell these are the main things that we should have in our design. These are the things that we should ship. These are the areas that we should prioritize in our development. So that is the duty of the UX architect. Product designer, so most of the time in Europe and US, UX designer is the term, they are not using the term UX designer. Instead, they are using product design. So they are having physical products as well, especially in Germany or Europe, where there are so many automobile companies. They have product designer role. So if you are good at physical designing, you can become a product designer. Even for, let's say, companies in China or Taiwan, where they develop so many digital products, there are so many product design vacancies and product designers as well. Product manager is someone who is managing all these designers and who is responsible for the product itself. Product owner. Product owner is a task. Now, let's say in a project team, UX team, we have product designer, product manager, and everyone. The product owner is someone who know about all the users, who has a good understanding about user expectations, and the product itself, and who has competitor uh, understanding about competitors and everything, we can call him a product owner. So whenever we have a question, whenever we have a doubt, we can ask our product owner. He will tell, now our product is this, and we are going to answer this kind of a questions that users are asking us. So these are the questions, these are the things that we should prioritize and everything. So we can call him a product owner. So with the UI, with experience in UI and UX, after some time, you can become a UI and UX engineer. So if you have a good understanding about users and also visual design and also information architecture and everything. So technology stacks, for an example, let's say you get a requirement and you know this is the technology stack that we should use to create this a good application. It can be React, it can be Angular. So what are the technologies that we should use? So you should have some technical advantage, technical experience as well. And UI engineer is more into the technology as well as creative industry, not much into UX. So those are the main job roles that UX offer. So if you go to websites such as pay scale, so it will show so it will show average UX designer salary and what are the expectations by different cities. So if you go to US, you will get this much, very much different from what we get in Sri Lanka. But if you want to become freelancer, if you want to work abroad, you will be able to make something around that. So this is the entry level, and career mid level and experienced designer will get 100K plus. Okay, so these are some popular skills for UX designers: user experience design, user research, web design, user interface design, interaction design. Interaction design is also uh, a really interesting field because there are not much people in interaction design. So if interaction designer's task is to actually, when we do the design, when we do the prototype and everything, uh, they will focus on user interactions. So for an example, how users respond to certain areas of the screen, how we can give them like micro interactions, animations in our screen, how we can make them feel better, how we can make satisfy them by giving them responses back and forth for the interactions that they do in our scripts. So these are some skills that affect UX designer's salary. If you're good at content management, strategic planning, product development, team leadership, strategy, project management, interaction designs, and coding, especially most of the companies, let's say, actually most of the startups are looking for designers who can code as well. So if you at least good at HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right, it will be really beneficial for you to get a job. Let's say two people are applying for the same job. One has only design background and another person has developer background as well. So that person will get a competitive advantage when comparing to the person only with design skills. So make sure to do HTML, CSS at least, and do JavaScript, and maybe JavaScript frameworks such as React, Angular, or Vue.js if you really need to get into front-end development as well. So you can start off as a UX designer, and then you can be a senior UX designer after some experience, and then you lead UX designer and UX manager, and these are the job paths, career paths that you can take as a UX designer. Right. And that's essential UI and UX technical skills and how we can improve. If you are a UX designer, you need to have a good graphic design skills, vector and raster. So vector is something that vector-based, Adobe Illustrator and so on. So raster-based is something like Photoshop, if you can edit photos and so on. It is really important skill as a UI UX designer, because sometimes you have to edit some photos you already taken and put it in your website or mobile application. So that skill is also really important. And in vector, if you need to create a logo or something, the vector skills is also really important as a design. All right. And next one, UI designing. So UI designing or visual designing is also really important. If you are good at graphic designing, that doesn't mean that you are good at UI as well, because UI is something different. But if you you can apply your graphic designing skills to UI designing and make it look better as well. Motion graphics. So 2D animations are also something that most of the companies are look for when hiring for UI and UX job. So if you don't have advanced motion graphic, it is okay, but at least you should have understanding about how to animate a SVG, scalable vector graphic, as an icon or and so on. So that is really beneficial for you. And video and audio editing is also important. So if you get a job in a like well-established company, most of these tasks you don't have to do. But if you get a job in a startup, you might have to do all of these and much more. So this is actually getting a job in a startup is really good actually for your career improvement and to learn new skills and so on. Otherwise, if you get a job in a established company, you might have to do the same thing for so many years. So you're not learning anything new and so on. So make sure to learn something new even when you're doing your job. Video and audio editing is also important. If you have skills in Adobe Premiere or even After Effects, that will be really beneficial. UX skills. If you have good research, UX research skills, if you can empathize with your users and understanding different user behaviors, diagramming, maybe wireframing, prototyping skills will be important. It is actually really required to be a good UX designer. Development skills are also important, as I mentioned. If you have good understanding about coding, then when you do the designing, you know, is this that something that front-end developer can code? Is this something that front-end developer like to code? So it is a good thing that you already have understanding about what limitations of coding as well. So development skills are really important. And then finally, soft skills. So as a UX designer, soft skills are really important. So most of the time when you come up with a design, you have to present this design to your team as well as some stakeholders or maybe even users and get their feedback. Sometimes these you have to present it and they will ask questions, and then you have to rationalize your design decisions. They will ask questions such as, why did you select this color and not this particular color? Why is it this typeface? Uh, and so on. So you have to make sure you have good soft skills and presentation skills to back your design decisions and your UX. Okay, these are some workspace skills that require. Most of the time we are working as a team. So it is a collaborative effort. So you have to make sure that you are collaborating with core teams. So again, sometimes you might have to work on different project simultaneously. For an example, if you are working in a company, there might be 2 or 3 projects that you have to work in the same time. So you have to make sure that you prioritize certain tasks and uh, address these requirements gracefully without getting it as a stressful task. Communication and presentation. So as I mentioned, you have to communicate with your co-designers and team leaders and everyone, and you need to have good communication and presentation skills. So even if you have good designing skills and your designs are really good, and if users or the stakeholders or company members ask you questions, if you can't rationalize, if you can't tell them the reason that you selected certain design elements, it is not that good. So always make sure to have a good communication and presentation skills as well. And next one is prioritization and time management. So as I mentioned, there can be so many projects that you have to work on. So you always have to make sure to prioritize your daily task based on the requirement. So if one project is launching date is really uh, fast, like close by, and you have to work on that project more time, but you have to work on other projects as well. So always try to make sure to prioritize and manage your time wisely. Okay, next we have you have to think like a UX designer. In order to think like a UX designer, you need to understand that everything that we interact with in our daily life, either physical or digital, it is UX, user experience. You are experiencing, you are the user. So UX is everywhere. Identify good and bad UX. So when you launch a mobile application, you can identify good things about that particular mobile application. You can identify bad things. So when you are interacting with physical elements, let's say you are taking public transport, you can like interact. For an example, is this a good user experience? Is this place a good place to build a bus stop? And so on. So you can identify good and bad user experience, how to improve, and you can get idea about how we can improve. If I am the UX designer, if I am the product designer of this particular product, how can I improve and make it a better solution, give it a better design, and finally present your solution. So make sure to do this in regular basis. So it will be beneficial for you as a designer. So I suggest you a book. I will add it to Google Classroom as well. The Design of Everyday Things. This is the book that you have to follow. Actually, they have a free version as well on archive. So I will add this link to our Google Classroom. Actually, Don Norman is the one who we call him the father of UX design as well. He is the one who behind the UX design of initial Macintosh computer when it is launched as well. So its website is Interaction Design Foundation, his company. And this book is really helpful for you to understand the basics of UX and how you can think like a UX designer when you are interacting with everyday things, user psychology and everyday interactions. It will be really beneficial when you get a project next time. So I invite you to read this book and get an idea about what you are going to do as a UX and product design. So I will share the link on Google Classroom to download this book. Okay, now finally, today we are going to discuss about UX portfolio, because UX portfolio is really important, because when you apply for a job, the recruiters or the hiring manager, they will the first thing they will ask you is to send your portfolio. So if you don't have a portfolio, you don't have any way to move forward even in the hiring process. So building a UX portfolio is really important. So as a UX designer, you should at least have 4 to 5 UX designs that you already did, that designs you are proud of in your design. But as you just started your career, just try to add 1 or 2 designs, your best designs. So now, let's say I think that most of you don't have any designs to put in your portfolio. So one thing you can do is you can add your capstone project as a design to your portfolio, what we are doing in the class after 2-3 weeks. And then maybe you can get a project from one of your friends. Don't think about the budget or anything. Just make it a learning experience and try to put it in your portfolio as a design. So when creating a portfolio, always make sure to put your original designs. Don't try to copy from someone else and put it in your portfolio, because it is not a really good thing. So if you one day if they found out that you copied their design or anything, so you don't have a good reputation as well. But try to learn something new and do your own designs. So these are the websites that you can create your portfolio. So if you visit websites something like Dribble, and Behance, and also I have Flickr here, but Flickr is more into photography. So as a UX designer, we can focus on Dribble and Behance. But if you have good coding knowledge and you know how to host a website, you can buy your own domain and create a website for yourself as well. So in Dribble, we have different designers and they have showcases of their designs. So whenever you get a new design idea, let's say you want to design a medical application, you can search for the term, whatever you like, and get an idea about what other people already designed. So you can get your design inspiration from here as well when you do your design. Don't just try to copy it, get your inspiration and be creative and do your own design. And then let's go to one of these person's profile. So if you create a Dribble account, you can, there's a pro version as well, but there's a free version which you can use from as a beginner. So we can showcase all our designs in our portfolio. So the hiring managers or recruiters can visit our website and read our user stories or case studies we have put on our design. So if I show you my portfolio, it is not recently updated. So I have few case studies here. So if I go to this one right here. So I have written a case study. So my role is this, and this is the description about it. And this is the process I follow to create this kind of a design. So case study is something really important. I will tell you how to write a case study as well. So if I go here, this is the case study. Let's start off with the introduction, and then we are telling them about the problems that users are facing, and then we tell them the solution that we came up with, and then the process we follow, and the features, all the wireframes and everything we can add them, and features, results, and finally we can add a conclusion. So regarding that project, I actually did the designing and the development as well. So that is why it is having that kind of a. So this one I only did the design, so you can add all your research findings and your color theory and everything in your designs as well. So that is custom made portfolio, but you can always make portfolio in this design. So in Dribble or Behance. So any questions so far regarding the things we discussed today?
Hi, excuse me. Hi.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yeah, we can.
Just a question. In this course, are we touching any basic HTML coding side, or do you think it's a different part that we should take?
in this course, we are only considering UI and UX. So designing will be there. No HTML or CSS or anything. So I think you have to do front-end course for that.
Right. Any recommended courses that you know about this thing? Oh,
Yeah, recommended courses. Actually, you can go to. Second, I'm trying to. You mean to learn HTML or front-end completely?
HTML. As
HTML.
in like to go with this entirely.
Yeah. I can't remember it. I will add it in Google Classroom so you can follow
Yeah.
it up. Yeah, sure.
Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thank you. Anyone else? So I will create a Figma board where we do all our designs during our class hours. So let me share the link with you so you also can join. Share the link on Zoom chat. Please join that link. I think everyone already have Figma accounts. If you don't have, please create it now. It's really easy. You just can sign up by putting your email address and password. So let's create boards for everyone. This for Sharma. All right. So from next week onwards, we are going to do some practicals on Figma as well. So please follow the link that I shared on Zoom. Try to join the Figma board. I will add this link on our Google Classroom as well. So these are the boards that you have to do your design when I start off the Zoom sessions next week when we finish the presentation. So what we're going to do is I will create my own design up here. So, and then you have to follow up and try out Figma design. So we are going to do Figma more advanced features as well. So as a starter, let's create all our designs in here. So I will make sure to join Figma and join this board as well. So the link in Zoom and I will add it to our Google Classroom as well. Then who asked me about HTML? Sasanka, this is a good place to start, the free code camp. You can access all the materials without paying anything. So you can follow this course as well.
That's
And
great. Thanks.
everyone else, please note down.
You will be sharing that link to that classroom, right?
Yeah, I will share it. I will add it to
Great.
Zoom as well.
Okay.
Any questions? How about Chamara? Any questions?
I think that's clear up to now, I think. Thank you.
Okay. How about Fatima?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just now I joined the Figma. I signed it just now.
Okay.
So I mean, what should I do next?
Don't do anything. This is the place that we are using to create all our designs coming from next
Okay.
week. So
Okay.
I will create my own design here, and you have to follow up and do the design. Just sign up
Oh,
and save the board in your Figma.
okay, sure.
Okay. How about Ratnasekara? Any questions?
So I just logged into the Figma site and I try to download the Figma software.
Okay. You actually don't have to download it, but I recommend you to download it. So you just have to create an account. You can even use it in your browser as
Yes,
well.
sir.
Yeah. Okay. Create your account and join the board, and we will do practicals next week. Any questions
Okay,
other than
okay.
Figma? Any more questions?
No, sir.
Okay, cool. How about Janet?
For me, all good.
Okay, cool. How about Kavindya?
No, thank you.
Okay. Sasank, do you have any more questions?
Not at the moment.
All right.
Thanks.
So if you have any questions, you can send a message on WhatsApp group chat as well during the week. But I invite you to do your own designs on Figma because uh, if you self-study, if you do it by yourself, at least try to learn these tools by referring to these so we can start off next week with the basics. So you have some idea about the toolbox and where to find different elements in the section. At least try to learn about these tools. So we will go into more details about them next week. All clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll see you next week around this time. I will add all the materials, the presentation and the recording, as well as recommended links to Google Classroom. Okay. Have a nice day then. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.